Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. Better late than never, the Impact review for the 16th of June, 2020. Overall, not a bad show, but lacking a little bit versus shows that have been on in previous weeks. I actually am doing this on a Friday night and can actually say that SmackDown was better than Impact this week, which I have not said yet, I don't think. They are building towards their Slammiversary pay-per-view in this program. Deanna Purrazzo's debut last week is a major part of the video package that exists here. And they do the championship match review of Jordana Grace and Taya Valkyrie. Right before they go into the tag team championship match, Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz, they're ready in gorilla position. Trey Miguel approached them. Wentz is suspicious and kind of nervous around this. Anyway, we open with a tag team championship match. Come to think of it, wait a second. I'm just looking at this. Tag team championship match openings on 3 national programs this week. So everybody's making tag teams matter at the same time, which means they're going to matter less overall. Anyway, so this is the North, Ethan Page and Josh Alexander. Page is one of the best guys they have in Impact right now. I'd say top 3, top 4 people in Impact, period. Josh Alexander haven't seen enough of to get a real feel for whether I like him or not. He's not bad, but he doesn't stand out to me. Other people like him a lot. Anyway, the Rascals, Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz, they fall to the champions, and champions retain the title. Wentz starts the match with some drop kicks on Page, and Xavier with a series of strikes and an early near fall. Xavier goes to his corner, hits a senton by Wentz. Josh and Wentz exchange strikes before tagging to Ethan Page. Page, again, by far one of the most charismatic guys they have in the Impact locker room, and I wish they were doing more with him. I felt that way since he was in Evolve, so this is not new for me. Page takes over, and several quick tags here. Wentz with strikes and a comeback. Xavier runs wild over Josh Alexander. Speed strikes from both of the baby faces, and then we go to the North, separating Xavier out. They go after him in the corner. Delayed vertical suplex by the champions, but that only gets a near fall. We go to commercial. We come back from commercial. Desmond Xavier is starting a comeback. He escapes a powerbomb at the hands of Ethan Page, and he tags Wentz again. I mean, I like the fact that places are focusing on tag team wrestling. This is good. However, you're focusing on tag team wrestling at the expense of doing it the right way. There's too many cutoffs, hot tag, cutoff, hot tag. At most, there should be 2 of these in a match. Usually one will do it, and it just seems they're doing too much of this. Anyway, Page hits, or gets hit with a couple super kicks. Desmond goes for another Meteora. They take each other out, and then the Destroyer is hit for a near fall. Pele kicked by Desmond, earns a near fall there. Page breaks that up. Dez hits a suicide dive. Hey, they do these everywhere. Tremendous. And catches him, tosses him over the rail. They go back in the ring. Alexander drops him groin first on the ropes. Tag to Page. Follows up with a torture rack into a spine buster. They retain the titles. great opener from the sense of good fire from the baby faces, good cutoffs from the heels. I think they keep promoting that Paige and Alexander are the longest tag team champions in Impact history. I don't know how many people care about Impact history, but if there's anyone that does, this is a good way to promote them. Backstage, the champions are celebrating. Paige gets angry that no one's watching their match. He says no one's going to take the championship. However, nobody expects and respects their greatness. So the Josh Matthews and Madison Rayne, who again, week after week after week, I love her. She's phenomenal. Please let her get signed to somewhere where she can make more money when her Impact contract is done. So Jimmy Jacobs approaches Ace Austin for comment about Trey's attack. Ace says he didn't know anything about it. He says everyone keeps blaming him and they're all crazy people. Eddie Edwards blamed him for Trey's attack and told him that he would meet him later tonight. Good for Ace Austin to be in there with Eddie Edwards. I've had the pleasure of working with Eddie several times when I did play-by-play. Eddie's a phenomenal talent. Would love to see him go somewhere more financially lucrative for him as well. Nevaeh with Havoc defeats Kimberly. Nevaeh is finally making her in-ring debut, which is good. They still haven't told me enough about Nevaeh to get me to care about her one way or the other, but at least she's doing something like wrestling, which is useful to do on a wrestling program. Anyway, they start the match, and they go into strike exchanges. Lee then hits a gets hit with a drop kick to the face. Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan come out. They're talking trash. Kimberly takes advantage of the distraction, attacks Nevaeh, and kicking her leg and lands a low kick for a 1 count. I like the fact that wrestling they're starting to use 1 counts. I know it's something really small, but hey, attempting to win at various times in a match is a good idea. Nevaeh recovers, hits some chops, but they do some basic stuff. Eye rakes, chokes, kicks, that kind of thing. Suplex for a near fall here. Nevaeh makes a comeback finally. Took a little bit too much punishment, to be honest. There's some lariats, an awkward-looking STO, and then she hits a German for a near fall. Lee hits a kick combo, ending with an Enziguri for a near fall. Too many near falls in a match that doesn't have a build, but that's just nitpicking. Nevaeh finished with a great twisting DDT, gets the win. These two just didn't gel. They didn't click. Maybe their placement in the show was off. Maybe they didn't have enough time to put together the match they wanted, but something just didn't fit. Havoc almost came to blows with Kiera Hogan and Steelz. Nevaeh stops her. Hopefully that match happens soon. Be a good payoff. Maybe at the pay-per-view. Anyway, backstage, Reno Scum and some staff, they're watching footage. North approaches, asks them if they're watching their match. They said they're watching Ken Shamrock, and Ethan Page gets mad, breaks an iPad, and he's upset. So Ethan Page certainly wants more attention than he's getting. Video package of cancel culture. Joey Ryan talks about Jacob Christ and Crazy Steve. He says next week Crazy Steve gets canceled for good. Video Crazy Steve talking to himself about people telling him not to do certain things. He calls himself the homicidal artist. Isn't that kind of like a ripoff on Sabu 20 years later? Anyway, or 25 years later. Anyway, he implies that he has friends. I'm not quite sure who would want to be his friend, but good for him. Rhino defeats Rohit Raju. Don't agree with this from the standpoint that Rhino is a 25-year veteran, something like that. Why is he beating a guy that they need to make up things on? Doesn't make sense. Anyway, jump start early by the younger star. Rhino is on defense for the first few minutes of the match. The ref says the match hasn't even started yet, and very basic match, kicks and punches and the like. They go to the floor, and Rhino gets rammed into the apron several times and into the ring post. So basically, we've got an ECW-esque style brawl, a little bit, just toned down. Finally, they get back in the ring. Really basic match, nothing special. There's a cutoff for near fall. Rhino recovers, hits a suplex, some clotheslines. He goes for the gore, but Rohit dodges him and hits a running cannonball and goes for foot stomp, but Rhino dodges that and hits a gore. He wins. I mean, I get it that you want to give respect to veterans, but at this point, if you are trying to grow your company, how many people do you know that are looking to see Rhino in a featured position? I just don't see it. Anyway, there's a mental breakdown aspect to what Raju is going through post-match. Wonder how real that is to be losing unnecessarily. They do the weekly Impact Review segment for their streaming service, which means I have to hit pause because that is work. Anyway, I'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. So, I mean, that's where you are with that. Rhino in that position is not good for business. So, anyway, we go back to flashback moments with EC3 defeating Kurt Angle. I don't get these. I mean, you can put a crawler that you have 20 years of history and not waste television time on things that don't matter to your current fan base. That would be much more efficient use of time when you have limited time. Anyway, backstage, Elgin's on the phone with Jimmy Jacobs. When Jimmy Jacobs approached, he asks about Trey Miguel. Elgin tells him he doesn't jump people from behind. Did he do that to Shamrock a few weeks ago? Anyway, he'd rather nail a cameraman, so he says, Susie and Kylie Ray meet in the locker room. Susie said she likes being good, but that everyone bullied her, so maybe she should turn her back on all that. Kylie reminds her that she likes her. Man, I hope they have a long-range plan for Kylie Ray. I like the overly innocent female character I always have, but writers seem to run out of material for them before they reach their peak or whatever it is. Anyway, Talia interrupts, told them that they were losers, bad people, etc. and so forth. Taya walks away, and she's looking for Johnny Bravo. Moose, doing the TNA Championship thing, goes after Hernandez, retains the championship. I'm bored with this storyline already, but Moose is one of those people that I don't think could get a job another place if he could, and I don't mean that as a shot at his talent. There must be something about his business that he would wind up in a place like Impact. Because why, if he has the full package, then why isn't he somewhere where it's more growth minded than rebuild minded? Anyway, so Moose tries to jump things from the start, but gets caught with a dropkick and a clothesline, goes out to the floor. They brawl around the ring, ramming each other into rails and ring posts and the floor. Oh my. Back in the ring, Moose pulls Hernandez into turnbuckles. Basic punches and kicks. I really do notice that the offense in Impact is much more old school and basic, which I wish more companies would at least consider blending more basics into things. Hernandez gets nailed with a zipline style dropkick off the turnbuckle, sending Hernandez to the floor. Um, Again, eye rakes and stomps and kicks and etc. and so forth. Hernandez goes for a suplex, but Moose escapes and hits a low blow. He hits the lights out, which is the new name for the no jackhammer, needed for the win. Ethan Carter III has his theme played. Ethan's not there. So, assuming that he's returning at the pay-per-view, which would be good for business, I think that would be a character that people would care about. I know I cared about it when he was in what was then TNA, and I wasn't a regular watcher, but I liked his stuff. Rascals approach Reno Scum about Trey's attack. They say they haven't talked to Ace Austin in a while. He owes them some money. The Deaners say they miss one another. Willie Mack was there making faces. Cousin Jake challenges Chris Bay, Johnny Swinger to a 6-man tag match. They make jokes about Swinger and Bay. This is just stupid. It kills time. It's comedy for the sake of comedy because we don't know what else to do with the characters we have because we haven't really thought them through. Anyway, Reno Scum out next against Team Triple Double XL, which is Ace Romano and Larry D. And of course, Reno Scum is Luster the Legend and Adam Thornstone. So, I mean, this is a match that I, character-wise, don't care about. I'm sure when I look back at my notes here, because it's been a few days, it'll be fine, in ring-wise, but there's nothing here in the long run. There just isn't. So, Larry D gets a takedown on Luster. Adam's quick enough to hit a bulldog. And then Reno Scum goes to work on Larry. Double team moves there. Larry gets dropped in desperation midway through here. AC and Luster tag in. AC hits clotheslines. And Luster gets nailed with a sidewalk slam. Adam tries to fight off both guys, but gets crushed between them instead. And then Luster with a clothesline, but there's a step-up kick by Adam, setting up a top rope curve stomp, double team for the win. Lackluster match. I mean, it's there. It kills time. It exists, but nobody's gonna write home about that. Backstage, Bay's talking to Swinger about the challenge of the Deaners and Mac. Swinger said he had a perfect teammate to join them. Someone who was in a 90-day no complete clause, so instead he told Bay he would call someone else. That's kind of interesting. So more teases of people to come in at the Slammiversary deal. The one good thing about Impact being owned by Anthem is they have stability that independents don't have, financially speaking. So, I mean, they can spend some money on some talent that was underutilized in WWE, and that's good for everybody. It's good for that talent. It's good for people that think that the stories in Impact have gotten kind of stale, so everybody wins there. Deanna Peruzzo has a profile piece here, talks about starting her wrestling career, being invited to Impact to wrestle, and then she travels the world wrestling in Japan and Europe to learn more about the sport. She said now she's back knowing that she's the best female technical wrestler in the world and wanted to prove it. if this is true, I haven't seen enough of her to know either way, but that would make Impact stand out in a whole nother way. So we're almost to the main event, but when we finish, she says her attack on Jordana Grace was simply because she's the champion and she's here to reach the top, and all she cares about is the championship. Miller interviews Grace about the piece. Grace says Peruzzo came in to the right place if she wants a challenge, but she wanted a shot. All she had to do was ask. What is this with asking? I mean, in reality, how many times in wrestling history over the last, let's say, the TV era would be, let's call it 50 years, 1970. I know that's extreme, but how many times in that length of time has just asking for a random title shot worked anywhere? Anyway, so Peruzzo jumps Jordana Grace, locks in her armbar, and injures her. We go to the main event. Ace Austin defeats Eddie Edwards in a street fight. I'm not a fan of street fights. I am a fan of both of these talents, though. Eddie jumpstarts things early. They brawl around everywhere. Chops and strikes and all that. Eddie grabs a garbage can. Ace tries to avoid it, but ends up eating it. Eddie drops him groin first onto the guardrail. Ouch. And then Ace gets back into the ring, regains control of the trash can. They do several kicks for near fall here, and he hits a knee to the back, hits him with a metal sign, and hits chops and kicks. But Eddie uses one chop to send him back down, almost as if to say, "You're not as powerful as me," which is an interesting story to tell. Eddie sent Ace to the floor. Ace catches him with a trash can lid, instead blocking the tope dive. Ace sets up a piece of the guardrail and a ladder between the apron and the ramp, but he gets tossed spine first into the guardrail. Eddie hits Ace with a traffic sign, blue thunder bomb for near fall. Eddie with a chair shot, and Ace dodged and hits his version of the Van Daminator for another near fall. I can't imagine Rob Van Dam's happy with his move being stolen by a guy significantly younger, but anyway. Ace brings out a table. We go back to the traffic sign. Eddie blocks him, and Ace ends up hits a paper cut under the eye to cut him off. Follows with a crossbody for near fall. Eddie catches Ace with a cookie sheet and tiger bomb for 2 count. They like power bombs in this match, don't they? Eddie brings out a kendo sticks, gets dropped with a drop toe hold into an open chair. Mouth first, youch. Good way to lose some teeth. Ace tries to use the kendo stick, but Eddie dodged and nails Ace with it. And then a neck breaker over the legs of a table. Really dumb move. I get that you're trying to be vicious, but there's a difference between vicious and potentially dangerous. And this was, I think, both. Eddie prepares for his finish, but suddenly Madman Fulton rose out of nowhere. Fulton chokeslams him over and over again, and Ace Austin nails the fold, giving Austin the win. Ace and Fulton seemed to be, I guess, like a Shawn Michaels Diesel type thing. Decent match. Good to see Austin win. The new alliance with Fulton is good for business. There would be a former world champion making a return at Slammiversary, according to the report. And overall, not a bad show. But again, it's funny because there's such a drop between main talent that's worth watching and the rest of the card, and I don't think they do enough to build up their mid card and lower card. They do a really good job with the main event. They do a really good job with the women. They've done a reasonable job with the tag team championships, but there's a major drop if you're not in one of those groups, and it's noticeable. In any event, we'll be back with more. I am going to start a Primetime Wrestling series. We are going to do the Saturday Night's Main Event series. Unfortunately, I lost most of the remainder of the TNT stuff, so I have to rewatch that stuff. But a bunch more content coming. Keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.